Started in a sec, laying down. Oh, let's do that. Laying down on a bolster. That looks awesome. Close out of here. Alrighty. Good. Oh, look, there's a bolster already set up for me here. How nice. It's meant to be. Okay, so we're going to spend a couple of moments just laying back and finding a little bit of space in the front of the body. And morning, Sandy. Hi. And as you lay back, just be mindful of your lower body and how it's feeling. I'm going to take a couple of blocks and place them underneath my knees and have almost like a bound ankle shape with my lower body as we begin this morning, just to encourage this sense of openness and receptivity. But you're welcome to do whatever you want to do with your legs. There's no wrong way to do this practice. But let's just spend a few moments settling in as we begin. Notice how things feel across the collarbones, at the center of the chest. And if things feel a little bit tight or a little bit strained, there are a few things you could do. You could take your fingers and kind of massage around your chest, from the sternum or your breastbone out towards the sides, towards your underarms. And another thought here is to cross your arms over your chest, one on top of the other. And maybe even to close off that space a little bit while the back of your body settles down. So really arms any style, but we're going to remain here for a few minutes. And I want to read you a little poem this morning. I can find it. Yes, here it is. Okay, it's called The Word. It's by Tony Hoagland. He wrote, down near the bottom of the crossed out list of things you have to do today, between green thread and broccoli, you find that you have penciled sunlight. Resting on the page, the word is beautiful. It touches you as if you had a friend and sunlight were a present he had sent from someplace distant as this morning to cheer you up. And to remind you that among your duties, pleasure is a thing that also needs accomplishing. You remember that time and light are kinds of love, and love is no less practical than a coffee grinder or a safe spare tire. Tomorrow you may be utterly without a clue, but today you get a telegram from the heart in exile, proclaiming that the kingdom still exists, the king and queen alive, still speaking to their children, to anyone among them who can find the time to sit out in the sun and listen. So taking a few more moments here. With that little nugget in mind, that pleasure is a thing worth accomplishing as well. It's not just like the icing on the cake of hard work. It can also be the work. And as we sit with that idea, it might be really nice to rub your belly. Every time you got a little bit of a rub, take your hands, the heels of your hands, and press them into the sides of your belly. Maybe you're making some kind of like a circular motion here. And in addition to relaxing ourselves by rubbing our own belly, when we all do this together, we all harmonize our body. And so knowing that you are in a room full of people that are doing the same thing as you, for a little bit of ease. Let's just take a few more moments here. Reclined on the bolster, maybe like another minute or so. And maybe your hands are resting on your body, maybe you are massaging, maybe your arms are outstretched. And just be present with the state of things this morning, with how you are feeling today. and with the underlying energy. Good. And then from here, we're going to stay reclining on the bolster just for a few moments. And let's just take those hands and kind of press those hands up and away. So the palms are pressing away. But we're thinking about pressing the upper back and the middle of the back down into the bolster. Notice how it feels to press the muscles of your back down as you press the hands forward. You notice the involvement of the belly here. Maybe you're wiggling your fingers a little bit. Really pressing your back down and in. Good, and then let's take those hands and place them back behind your head and releasing the fingers, and we'll let the elbows drop out nice and wide here. Let the muscles of your back neutralize a little bit. Relax, stepping away from all of that pressure. And just let yourself breathe here for a few moments. And another breath or two. And then let's take our time to come on up and out of this and into a seated position. So you might roll off the bolster to your side. For me, it feels more natural to just sit up. And then let's take a moment to arrange ourselves in just a comfy seated position. I think we're going to take a couple of mudras before we get rolling with our class full of strong poses and simple strengthening exercises. So let's start off with Shakti Mudra, which is pressing your fingertips into each other. Just creating this little space in between your hands and thinking about the structure. Noticing the structure of your fingers, your hands, your wrists. Down into the elbows. And lean into the back of your body and notice your shoulders. And then notice your head kind of floating up above your heart and your hips. Just a few more breaths here. So a mudra of focus, a mudra of structure. If you're into the tarot, this is like the emperor of mudras. And then we're going to release this, and we're going to take our hands out in front of us and wrap our index and middle fingers around our thumbs and extend out through the ring finger and the little finger. And we're just going to take the pads of the ring finger and the little finger together and just kind of set those knuckles against each other. So this is Shakti Mudra. This is a mudra of softness and ease. Our pinkies and our ring fingers are our water and our earth fingers. This is all about creating this earthy kind of peaceful, heavy, still energy. Calm, relaxed. Your thumb is your fire finger and you've tucked it into bed. And then, of course, your index and your middle fingers, that's your air and your space element. So we're just thinking about kind of closing off this fire energy and tucking in our air and our spaciness and feeling grounded and steady. And just take a few more breaths with this. then let's just go ahead and release that and wiggle our fingers around. Give them a moment. Oh, let's figure eight. Let's figure eight. Let's figure eight our hands in opposite directions. So almost like you're conducting your little orchestra inside of your head. And thinking about crossing the midline, if that makes sense to you. And as you're crossing the midline, maybe one hand is on top on one round and the other hand's on top on the other round. And maybe like, I don't know, another 30 seconds worth of going in this direction. And then let's reverse directions and see what happens with your right. See what happens with your hands and wrists and your arms. Maybe it's easy, maybe it's really weird. Maybe at first it's really weird, then it gets easier. And just a few more moments with this. Let's go ahead and just release our hands onto our lap. And we'll just kind of hang here for a moment, just to notice. I would really like to, I sometimes find myself just rushing from one thing to the next when it comes to this class because I get excited. Like, yay, we're going to do this thing. But I really want to spend more time pausing today. So if I start rushing, remind me. Okay. Pause for a moment. And just notice your breath. The corners of your mouth, the corners of your eyes. And from here, let's just come on out of this and we're going to sit up. And as we sit up, we're going to take our hands behind us and our feet out in front of us. And then let's cross one ankle on top of the other. So sitting up is optional. You can also lay down and do this if you want to have your back connected to the ground in the figure four. And then I'm just thinking of this little side to side rocking motion. Yeah, lay down if that's what you want or need. It's funny, I think often about like how in yoga classes we say, okay, touch the wall if you need to, or use the block if you need to, but like, what if you want to? What if you don't really need to, but you just want to? You can do what you want. Notice how that right hip feels this morning. How the lower back feels. Just take a nice handful of breaths here, easing into that hip touch. We're going to do a lot of focusing today on strengthening around the hips and the glutes, which I think, especially during the winter, is super duper important so we can stay well balanced in our bodies. And if there's like ice about. Good. And then if you're lying down, just take a recline bound angle, soles of the feet together, knees wide. And if you're sitting up, a little butterfly pose. So just something symmetrical. And as you get yourself into that shape, notice the sound of your breath again. Sound of your breath like a friend. Always there with you. Just a few more breaths. Great, and then let's lift ourselves up here. Or if you're on your back, we're just going to bring the knees back up, and then we're going to cross that left ankle on top of the right knees. So yeah, maybe you're rocking side to side a little bit here. So just notice what it feels like to move that hip around. what your breath is doing, and if it feels a little bit rushed, or if you're using your mouth to breathe in or out, see if you can shift to that nose breath. Just a few more breaths. Good, and then let's unwind those legs. And if you are sitting up, come to lay down. And let's all take a happy baby pose here. Okay, it's nice to strengthen the glutes, but let's make sure that we aren't too tight in that area to begin with. And so just looking for like a little bit of suppleness through the low back, through the glutes, through those hips. Knees wide to frame the chest here. And pay special attention to the muscles kind of in the middle of your back. See if you can press that part of your body down to the ground. Good. And just as we did before, pressing our hands up, we're gonna try that in happy baby too, taking like a crow pose on our back. So palms of the hands reach up for the ceiling, lift up your shoulders, lift up your head. Okay, you're using your belly here for sure, but we're also pressing those muscles of the mid back down into the ground. Then feel your shoulder blades move apart. Good, and then we'll set ourselves down, hands and feet, knees point up, constructive rest. And let's just practice a few pelvic tilts here. So just kind of tilting your pelvis so that your tailbone points down to the ground and your low belly lifts. And then let's rock along the sacrum and point the tailbone up and kind of sink the belly in. And we're just gonna move a little bit like this, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 of these. In an effort to kind of work out your tension in the low back. But this is also a powerful strengthener for deeper core muscles, for your glutes, for your thighs. It's really simple and you probably won't break a sweat. Just notice the strength in all of these little muscles. And the amount of play that you have around the pelvis. And so does it feel really challenging to do these tilts? Or does it feel super easy? There's no like right or wrong way to be. In fact, I would argue for a little bit more tension in this area sometimes for extra stability. But also we're just looking for this suppleness. Just a couple more here. Rocking the tailbone and the sacrum along the ground. Good, and then let's come back into a neutral. And as you find a neutral, grab a hold of one of your blocks. And we'll just take that block in between the thighs here. Good, and we're not gonna do much from right here, but we are gonna squeeze the heck out of this thing. So squeeze this block as hard as you possibly can, and just take notice of your pelvis. And take notice of those muscles of the middle of your back. And feel the muscles of the middle of the back pressing down into the ground. And thighs pressing into the block. Notice if your toes are curling up. And if they are, yeah, give them a little wiggle, loosen them a touch. You're really strengthening all of these muscles of the core, the thighs. And strengthening the glutes a bit here. Let's just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze for a few more breaths. Oh, and then let it go. Let's drop the knees over to the right and take a twist. After all that squeezing, finding a little bit of softness. Good. So I've really been enjoying this, taking a block and kind of tucking it in behind my back in some way. It might work for you, maybe it feels awkward, but for me, it's just like, oh, that's nice, that tiny little bit of support on the spine. And sometimes I like to tuck my arm alongside it to keep it from moving. So let's just settle in here and notice the lower back, lower ribs. And do what you can to soften your thigh muscles, shoulders. And let's just spend the next 5 breaths filling up, emptying out, pausing maybe at the top and the bottom of your breath. Nice breath or two. Right, and let's bring ourselves back through to the center here. And as we find the center, let's take that block in between the thighs or the knees again. And we're going to cross our arms over our chest so that the upper back has a chance to press down into the ground and those shoulder blades move apart. And then, yeah, squeeze a hug around yourself, squeeze into that block. Good. Notice how the belly is working here, how the back is working. And, you know, the squeeze could be really, really, really intense, or you could have it just be a light squeeze. So feel it out. Sometimes we go too far and throw ourselves into like a stress response. So the idea is to just kind of like be at the edge of things, where you are feeling the sense of activation in your body, but you're not like getting stressed about it. Just a couple more breaths with your arms crossed like this. Good, and keep your thighs squeezing together, and then we're going to cross the arms the other way, just for a few breaths. And let's go ahead and, let's let it go. And we'll drop the knees over to the left and settle into this twist for like a minute and a half or so. Good, as you find this twist, you might notice how this side of the body feels slightly different. Maybe it feels much the same. Taking your time just to settle in here and to notice the subtle movement of your ribs, of your pelvis, of your belly and back. Another small handful of breaths here. Okay. And then let's bring ourselves back onto our back. And this is, I think, the last, the last of our back for right now, for this class at least. So I'm going to lie down on your back. Just set yourself up in a pose that makes you feel spacious. So I'm here in something kind of like a starfish pose with my arms out past my head, my palms facing up, feet are a little bit wide here, toes flopping out to the sides. Maybe you want Shavasana or constructive rest. Let's pause for about 10 breaths or so. Good. Take just another few breaths. Right. So we're going to transition up into a sitting position just for the next couple of minutes. You can get there in any way you want, but I'm going to try to sit up from lying down, just kind of rolling myself up. Maybe you want to roll to your side. Doesn't really matter how you get there. Just that you get there. We're going to do our little chicken wing exercise. I know Cassandra does this quite a bit. I don't know if I've ever done this in this class before, but yeah, so we're going to take our elbows and plug them into the sides of our body. And the idea here is that we're just trying to strengthen our subscapularis muscles, those muscles underneath our shoulder blades, and to create a little bit more balance between the front and the back of the body. So we're just going to bring our arms out wide and bring them back to the center. And let's just repeat this a few times, maybe 10 times. If you happen to have like a stretchy band at home, this is really nice to do with a stretchy band. Jane Clapp calls the muscles of the back, your butt, and your core your dignity muscles. So thinking about how when we practice strengthening these muscles and really tapping into what's there, we are enhancing our sense of dignity, our ability to stand tall, our ability to feel more centered. So just a few more moments like this. Make sure your jaw is kind of chill here. If it's feeling very like, you might even like open your mouth up or take a little lion's breath kind of thing. Just a few more breaths. And we'll take our hands down onto our knees and just roll the neck around, because inevitably the neck takes on some of the stress of that movement. But with time, it gets a little easier and the neck realizes like, oh, I don't necessarily need to be doing so much here. And it almost always starts off with a little bit of added tension in the neck. And so just a few moments worth of this gentle rolling. Good, and then we're gonna sit right back up here and we'll practice one more little exercise for those muscles. So you're gonna reach your arms up and overhead, however you can. And then we're gonna think about lifting up, bringing the shoulders up to the ears and lowering. Lifting and lowering. And so sometimes the shoulder blades don't wanna move a whole lot, especially like in the yoga world, we're always like, you know, draw the shoulder blades in towards the spine, lift the heart. And that can actually cause this little bit of freezing up of the space. So we're just looking to find some fluidity here. And again, maybe like right now, your shoulder blades are moving a couple of millimeters or something. That's fine. It's fine. Just notice what's going on. Reaching up and settling those shoulder blades down. Sliding them up and down the back here. Just a few more. Let that go. Drop the hands down to the ground and give your neck a little roll. Great. why don't we make our way into a standing forward fold? So in your standing forward fold, it might feel nice to have a little something on your hands, maybe a couple of blocks. I want us to really like ease into this standing forward fold. Even if you have like a lot of flexibility through the back plane of your body, see if you can create a little bit of softness here. And rather than diving right into a huge amount of sensation, see if you can invite it in really slowly. Good. So maybe your hands are on blocks and your knees are bent to begin with. And you might stay this way if it feels like the right thing. Good. Eventually, you might straighten out your legs a little bit more. You might release the hands from the blocks, clasp the elbows. Or just let the arms dangle. Good. And let your belly soften here. Let's take about 5 big breaths, maybe slightly bigger than a normal breath. And notice how the pelvis feels. See if you can sense a shift in your hamstrings just from breathing. Good. All right. One more breath. Let's start to bring ourselves up into a standing position. Okay, maybe we'll just stand for a moment. Let's stand with our feet just about hip socket distance. And let's broaden through the collarbones a little bit without pinching the shoulder blades together. So we're just thinking about creating a nice wide upper body without it being too curved in one direction or the other. Your palms face forward here. And then let's kind of rock over to this foot, and then over to that foot, and then maybe forward, and maybe backward. Getting a sense of our feet and our ankles this morning. It might be nice to spread your toes out really wide. And think about each toe acting as sort of like a little break or a little bit of steering. And then let's stop here and just raise our arms up and overhead. Big, big, big stretch. You feel your fingertips. Feel your feet on the ground here. And remembering our mudras that we practice, the Shakti Mudra and Shakti Mudra, the structure and steadiness, but also the sense of ease and softness and allowance and grounding. A few more deep breaths, reaching up nice and high, noticing your lower back. And then we'll let drop those arms down. I think it's wall time. So I'm gonna spend a second rearranging this. And when you find a piece of wall, ideally it's something that has not a lot of like, Linda, you might want to avoid that spot that has the line on it. Yeah. Let's see. Let's bring you over here. Maybe I can take this painting off. Oh, that will work. Yeah, Laura, if you want to take that middle piece, that would be good. Okay. I'm gonna try to figure this out over here. How you doing, Sandy? Good. All right. So we're gonna practice some wall angels, which is it sounds so lovely, but it's really just like borderline boring, but also really, really hard. So we're gonna take our feet so that they're just about a foot away from the wall. And then we're gonna put our back on the wall here, the back of our head on the wall here. And then we're just gonna kind of draw in at our lower ribs and press the middle of the back into the wall. Press your feet into the ground. Yeah, and it might feel like, wow, what's supposed to be touching here? I don't know what's working, what's going on. Right? Just see what you can do to press the middle of your back. That's the most important bit of this, into the wall. And maybe your triceps press into the wall, maybe not. So strengthening those muscles in the middle of your back. Breathing, hopefully through your nose, but maybe however you need to. Maybe just another 5 breaths like this. Think about poses like this that are seemingly really boring and not even like fun to look at as being like sustaining poses, you know? Like sustainment isn't necessarily flashy or fun. Necessary. Let it go. Fold forward. Allow yourself to kind of drip down. Maybe your glutes are touching the wall, right? Maybe your knees are nice and bent here. Good. Let your head drop down. And after practicing that, I always like to take my hands to the middle of the back where I was pushing into the wall. And even if it's not like a real firm massage, just taking a little bit of sensation, like maybe even scratching in that space. Just a little something there. And another breath or two. Right, and then very slowly bring yourself back up. And we're gonna build onto that a little bit. So this is a little, I don't know. I don't even know if I can say flashier. It's really not that. Other thought here, sometimes it's nice to have something in front of you. We do have chairs, so if you're feeling like you are unbalanced doing this, a chair can be really helpful. So we're gonna start off with our left foot about 1.5 feet-ish away from the wall. And we're gonna take our right foot and plug it into the wall. Okay. And then we're gonna take our hands to our hips. We're gonna press both feet down and back, right? And we're gonna sort of lean the upper body forward. All right, how's it going? It's so hard. I mean, it's simple, but it's super effective. And I think that like we need to remember sometimes that like getting strong doesn't necessarily mean that we have to like do all kinds of intense stuff. I think this is intense enough for me on this day at least. So really pressing that left foot down, pressing that right foot back, leaning forward. Access those dignity muscles in the middle of your back and around your solar plexus. Just another breath or two. And then after this one, I just like to kind of like shake my butt. So put both of your feet on the ground. Shake your butt side to side. Shake your shoulders. And a little forward fold again. Yeah, let's drop the head down and pause here. And about 5 more breaths folding in. Maybe you want to take care of yourself and give yourself a little mid back or even like a glute massage. I mean, your butt's facing the wall and nobody's looking. So maybe you want to massage your butt a little bit. Yeah, give it a good little tap. All right, and then eventually, yeah, let's lift ourselves back up to standing. And we'll just stand here nice and tall for a moment and pause and just notice how things are feeling side to side. Noticing the right foot on the ground and the left foot on the ground. The belly and the back. Middle of the belly and the middle of the back. And then the broadness of your shoulders. Head above it all. Right. Go on the other side. See how this goes. So we'll balance on that right foot this time. And yeah, you can reach back and touch the wall as you get yourself set up, pressing that left foot into the wall. At first hanging here, but then eventually you're gonna lean that upper body forward, press the right foot down, press that left foot back. It's okay if that right knee is bent a little bit. Mine certainly is here. Then try to breathe. Ideally through the nose. Breathe however you need to. Press, press, press. A few more breaths worth of this intense pressure. Noticing how that standing leg is activated, noticing how those left glutes are activated. You'll know when you're done. And go ahead and just step that left foot down and shake it out. Shake your shoulders, shake your thighs. Yeah, definitely shake your thighs. Shake it all out. Good. All right, I'm going to, yeah, we're not going to do any wall sits today. None of those, but we'll do something else here. So now let's turn around. And we're going to place our hands on the wall. And we're going to step our feet so that they're a little bit further back, almost like you're in a plank. Let's just hang on to this for a few moments. And hanging on to this plank kind of situation, feeling your thighs engage, feeling your low belly engage. And notice the muscles of your chest and your upper back. And let your neck be kind of easy. And then if your feet are kind of far apart, you might want to step that left foot in a little bit more to the center. And we're going to pick up that right knee and just move the right hip around in a circle. And probably about 10 times in one direction. From in to out and back again. A few more ups in this direction. And then let's go the other direction, just for maybe like 3 or 4. All right, and go ahead and just set that foot back down. And think about pressing into the wall, maybe even dropping your head back here for a moment. Good, and then round the back. And we'll just sort of fold forward here, almost like a downward dog-ish kind of thing at the wall. Few breaths. And opening through those shoulders, those underarms. Good, and then let's bring ourselves back up into our kind of a plank. Yeah, and we'll just take those circles again from the midline out with that left knee this time. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm like actually sweating right now. And a few more breaths. Really feeling the wall underneath your hands and the floor underneath that right foot. And then let's go in the other direction. Good. Go ahead and set it down. Let's lean into that down dog kind of thing, dropping the heart, letting the head come down. Good, and we'll come on up. Let those arms swing a little bit. Yeah, you can turn around if you want to. Right, and then let's practice a little bit of shoulder mobility here. So we're going to stand up nice and tall. And this is again another kind of super simple thing. We're going to tuck that left arm behind the back, or place the hand on the hip, doesn't matter. And we're just going to move that right arm around. And maybe just the right arm. See if you can keep everything else kind of stationary. Doesn't really matter what shape you're drawing with that right arm. This is more about just noticing, feeling. Go in the other direction. Right, and then we'll tuck that right hand behind the back and just stand here for a moment, clasping a hold of, grabbing a hold of your forearms. And maybe you want to roll your head around and touch. And keep that right arm back behind you, and let's start to move that left arm around in some kind of a shape. Maybe it's a circle, maybe it's more like a triangle, half circle. Doing your best to keep the rest of your body somewhat stationary. So yeah, just feeling it out here. So why are we getting into our shoulders like this? Next, we're going to use the dowel. So maybe just a couple more going in the other direction. And noticing how moving your arm is connected to stabilization in the belly and the back. There's nothing that's disconnected. Go ahead and let it go. And give your shoulders a wobble, give your head a wobble. Look at that. I love that. I wasn't a swimmer. No. Yeah. Is it? Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Cool. All right, so let's grab our dowels and do a little bit of hand strengthening and belly strengthening. And then we're gonna find the floor again for a little bit, because I think after all that, we kind of, I mean, you don't need to work to deserve rest, but also we kind of deserve a little extra at the end here. So we're gonna take that dowel out in front of us, and remember which hand is on the top. Okay, feet and the dowel like an equilateral triangle, and then just push down. Push down as hard as you can. Good. I'm still trying to come up with a clever name for this exercise. Notice what your belly does. Notice your body maybe shaking a little bit. Again, these things that look really boring on the surface, but we all know that this is anything but boring inside of our bodies. Deep, deep strengthener. So a couple more breaths. All right, go ahead and release. And we'll just set that dowel against our belly here. Let's take our Shakti Mudra. Standing up nice and tall, feeling your fingers, your fingertips press into each other. And noticing the shape of the hands, the arms, and then the whole body, feet touching the ground. Good, and let's go ahead and release the Shakti Mudra. We'll grab a hold of the dowel again with the other hand on top. Yeah, go for it, just press down as hard as you can. Good, and it's okay, there's like no wrong or right way for your lower body to be here. For some of us, really bending the knees and kind of softening through the lower body feels good. For others, you want to have more engaged lower body, that's fine. But notice the muscles in the back and the belly. Of course, the arms. Good job. A few more breaths. And just go ahead and, release it. Let's set the dowel against our belly again. And let's revisit our Shakti Mudra. So tucking in your thumb with your index and middle fingers. Let's connect the pinky and the ring fingers. And then connect those knuckles. And standing up here, nice and tall. But not just feeling the softness of the skin, the muscle, and adipose tissue. Your body a structured thing, but also a soft thing. Just a few more breaths. Go ahead and release this. Ah. And let's take the dowel away and find the floor again, I think. So we have about 7 minutes left, and I have in my mind that closing with a couple of twists supported by the bolster might be really, really nice. But if you would like to do something else, of course, you're welcome to. Maybe you just want to end as we began, lying down on the bolster on that ramp. If you opt to do the twist, there are a couple of ways to do that. One of which is to lay down, send your knees to the side, and set your back on the bolster. And the other way is to twist all the way around. Belly and chest to the bolster. And we're gonna do both sides, so it doesn't really matter where you go first. But if there's anything that I want to kind of prompt here, it is a sense of gratitude maybe to your body. Your body for being so smart and for moving you through your life, for holding you up. So just taking a little bit of time here to breathe and notice. With all of that strengthening work we have done, settling in here. And all of the rest that we partake in, helping us to find balance. So over here on this side, maybe just about another minute or so. Really letting yourself get settled. And watching the breath lift you up and lower you back down. And in your own way, just transition over to the other side. I'm just gonna like roll into my belly, slide my legs behind me. Maybe you want to sit up. Who knows? Yeah, maybe you want a down dog. But eventually, yeah, finding that twist over to the other side, getting yourself settled in. Noticing what's going on underneath the surface of your physical body. So we have our physical bodies, and then right under that, according to yogic thought, we have a few other layers. And the next layer underneath it is our energetic body, right? Pranamaya kosha. It's this part of us that is fed by our breathing, that is deeply touched by how we are breathing. So see if you can notice your breath.
and how it responds to the body, and how the body responds to the breath, kind of in a loop. So settle in here for maybe another minute and a half or so.
Just want to read this poem one more time. Down near the bottom of the crossed out list of things you have to do today, between green thread and broccoli, you find that you have penciled sunlight. Resting on the page, the word is beautiful. It touches you as if you had a friend and sunlight were a present he had sent from someplace distant as this morning to cheer you up. And to remind you that among your duties, pleasure is the thing that also needs accomplishing. You remember that time and light are kinds of love, and love is no less practical than a coffee grinder or a safe spare tire. Tomorrow you may be utterly without a clue, but today you get a telegram from the heart in exile, proclaiming that the kingdom still exists, the king and queen alive, still speaking to their children, to anyone among them who can find the time to sit out in the sun. Take a few breaths into the center of the chest, into the upper back, to the shoulders, the arms and the hands. A few breaths down into the belly, the back, the ribs, the pelvis. And these next few breaths, just washing over your whole body. You can imagine that, your whole body receiving the breath. And then when you feel like it's time, you can kind of wiggle your way out of this. Sit up, maybe jumping at the knees or take a child's pose or whatever you need to do. Where we all find a seat. And I'm thinking of a little bit of the mudra flow between those two that we practiced before. So our Shakti Mudra. And then let's see if we can just kind of like casually morph into the Shakti Mudra from here. So it's really just keeping those pinkies and the ring fingers together, but tucking in your thumbs and then pressing those knuckles together. Good. And then we'll open back up into the Shakti Mudra. And then we'll tuck the thumbs in again and press the knuckles together. Steadiness and softness. Focus. Ease. And I think we'll end in Shakti Mudra here, or sorry, Shakti Mudra with the thumbs tucked in. Lifting up the heart, let's broaden across those collarbones without pinching the shoulder blades together. Take a nice breath in through the nose. And maybe you're exhaling out of the mouth as you drop that head down and forward, honoring your practice and honoring each other and prioritizing maybe your sense of ease and pleasure today. Oh, thank you everybody for being here. Yay, happy Wednesday.